Hello and welcome to the Behind the Blockchain podcast. Today I'm joined by Luc Falempin, CEO of Tokeny. Luc, welcome to the show. How are you?
Very good. Hi, Jack. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for joining me. So, Luc, for those who don't know who you are, could you introduce yourself a bit, please?
Sure. So my name is Luc Falempin. I'm the CEO at Tokeny. I'm a serial entrepreneur, as we say.
Love it, love it. So, could you talk us through your career journey so far?
I started a bit more than 10 years ago with a first company. Basically, I studied in a business school and then started a first company in the e-commerce industry.
Nice.
A software. We were a software editor as well, and we were, transforming websites into multi-seller platforms, into marketplaces. So basically, connecting catalogs and orders and commissions and probably everything to like a big e-commerce platforms. And then we sold that company and started Tokeny in 2017.
Great. So, you've always been, an entrepreneur, as you said. What's that been like going straight from studying straight into running your own business?
I think it's great because you don't start with pre-made ideas.
Okay.
Basically, you just try and learn. Maybe you learn the hard way, but you learn fast. It was always web companies, so it's quite easy. Everything is digital. It's fast, so you don't have all of this. In many companies, you have legacy systems and processes, etc. So building from scratch, it's kind of nice. Especially when you do digital business, starting fully digital, it's a plus for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And what gave you the mindset, I suppose, to want to go straight from school to your own business? Is there a moment that kind of stands out for you or anything at all?
I think I mostly saw all of these opportunities in the web industry and everything you could do. At the end of my study, it was the first wave of social media and so the web two basically.
Yeah.
But it was really the early days of Twitter, that kind of things, and it was a wild west. It was obvious you could make money with it and build some nice tools. I studied in Canada, so very close from the US and all of this activity, and I saw that in Europe it was lagging behind. So I was like, okay, let's go back in Europe and start something. And also, it was very easy to start something. Just needed a computer and a lot of time. Um,
Yeah.
so uh, I tried and it worked.
Yeah, that's great. And is there anything that you learnt from your first business that you were able to learn from and you kind of implemented into Tokeny to help you?
Yes, a lot of things. So there are a lot of mistakes we avoided when we started Tokeny, but of sure we did other ones.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly about with who you want to work with, how you want to organize your team and your business, and and mostly that we've learned that to launch a company, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You need to run kind of fast, but you mostly need to run for a long time. So for example, working 80 hours a week, it doesn't work on the long run. The main thing is to find the right priorities. It's not to always do more. So we've learned a lot of things in terms of organization, technically, and marketing, and a lot of things that we try. Sometimes it fails, sometimes it works, and then you can replicate that. In my first company, we had a huge competitor, and they had a very bad product, but they were extremely good in sales. So I think it teach me a lot of how to sell B2B software.
No, that's good. And you mentioned there about making sure that you can prioritize the right things and picking the right things to work on. Do you have any advice for someone who might be maybe a little bit snowed under with so many things at the moment and they're having to try and prioritize? Do you have any advice or anything that really helped you be able to do that?
It's difficult because when you start your company, there are a lot of things you have to do, and of course you want to say yes to every opportunity that knocks to your door. But most of those opportunities are just lots of time. So, for example, I remember we are doing all of this startup contests at the beginning. You won only the ones where when you know the jury, you won peanuts. Best case, you have an article somewhere. It's really a lot of time for nothing. It's better to focus on your business, on your clients. Don't listen too much what people say. You should do it like this. You should do it like that. You should not do this. You should not do that. Just do something. Talk with your clients and iterate.
Okay, no, that's really good advice. Yeah, because I think there is a lot of noise, I suppose, that comes from all sorts of angles, not just work related, but I suppose even friends, family, everyone not in the work setting as well. So yeah, that's really good advice. Yeah, when I set up Unveil, and I've only been going a year or so. It's actually a year tomorrow,
Congrats.
actually. Thanks. Almost made it to the 12-month mark. But yeah, you're right. There's so many things that you want to get involved in, and you get pulled all over the place, and you have this idea, and then this idea, and then this idea, and you just have to. One thing I've definitely learned probably in the last 2 or 3 months, is actually just stick to the plan that you started with originally, and just do as much of that as you possibly can, and try not to get distracted by too much stuff. But it's hard not to, because you really want to do all these different things and start all these different ideas and stuff. It's tricky.
It's very complex because usually you have a lot of ideas because more and more you learn about your industry, your environment, your clients, your partners, etc. So you have more and more opportunities and things you want to do. And you also have a lot of people like pseudo mentors that tell you, you should do this, you should do that. Most of them have no clue because they didn't do what you tried to do before. Especially in the early days, it's yeah, we lost a lot of time with people who thought they knew and they didn't know anything. I have a very concrete example. My first company at the beginning, we were in B2C.
Okay.
So basically, we built some marketplace for ourselves where we are indexing millions of products in the fashion industry, and we are recommending you the right products depending of your profiles with different AI actually. So it was interesting, but not to sell on our website. We had no audience at all, and we will not compete with the big websites. So of course we had to turn this into a B2C platform, a B2B platform. Sorry, and we discussed with a lot of mentors and incubators, etc. For years, and nobody told us that B2C was stupid. Nobody told us you don't have the money to to reach people in B2C. Turn in B2B, and you will make real money. So I think for maybe the first 2 years we were in B2C, building our
Wow.
platform, trying to exploit it by ourselves. It didn't work too much, and in 1 month we switched in B2B and started to make money. So yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it? Try for 2 years and then switch to something else, and switch to B2B, and yeah, within 1 month you're up and running
You
and
need to
doing well.
know where is your value as a startup. Many projects we see even today with Tokeny, a lot of projects are contacting us to raise money with their tokens, etc. Um, and they try to do everything. In my opinion, either you do a product or you do a service, but you cannot do both. It's very complex. Build a product that you exploit by yourself, it's very complex. So either you take some kind of product, one product, several products, and you build the processes and you sell a good service, or you build the product to people who will deliver the service. But doing both, it's very hard, especially for a small team.
No, that's really good insight. Really good insight. So I can imagine you're a busy man, but what does a day in the life of the CEO at Tokeny look like?
A lot of emails, a lot of calls. um, I think it changed a lot post COVID because now everybody is. I mean, Token is from day one is very international. We have clients in 5 continents. We do everything in English, etc. We have 16 nationalities in our small team, so very international. Um, but post COVID, it helped us actually because now everybody jump in calls very quickly. even large financial institutions. So we spend a lot of time discussing with people in calls, obviously, and I'm trying to supervise, to follow what my team does, to make sure we focus on the right opportunities. So it's really about prioritization, opening some doors, and creating the framework for my different teams to evolve and bring solutions. So it's a bit of everything. I think it's good for my profile because I'm a bit of everything as well. I don't code too much, but I can read code.
Okay.
I understand marketing. I understand finance. So I do a bit of everything. I'm probably not specialized in anything, but I can do a bit of everything. So I can easily work with specialists and
Yeah.
make sure they deliver the most.
I suppose that happens, doesn't it? When you launch your own company and it's you or with a very small team, you have to get involved in so many things that you start to learn all sorts of stuff. Like when I launched Unveil, I didn't really know anything about websites or emails or anything like this, and I almost became my own IT support when I'd never done any of that really in my life. I'd worked at companies where they had dedicated support functions to be able to help you out with all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and it was a massive learning curve to then have to work across all sorts of different areas and be able to be competent at it. Because otherwise, yeah, you have to learn it, right? Um,
I think you have to do a bit of everything. The good news is that you can learn the basis very easily online to have an idea of the main direction, and then it's better to outsource to someone who knows for real,
yeah,
and with clear objectives. Otherwise, you don't know if they deliver or not. But you cannot do everything, but to understand the basis and then to make your own idea of what you want to do, the main direction, it's very important if you want to drive your company efficiently.
yeah, for sure. So, could you introduce us to Tokeny in a little bit more detail?
Yes. At Tokeny, we help financial institutions and companies to tokenize their assets. So basically, to represent their assets on the blockchain in a compliant way. So basically, we are a software editor, and we have a complete set of tools to issue, to manage, and to transfer these assets on the blockchain. So we mostly tokenize financial products, but also we do payment systems on chain. We do loyalty programs on chain, that kind of things. So it's a management platform for smart contracts and for token. And our clients tokenize a bit of everything: investment funds, debt, equities, commodities like gold and palladium, and footballer image rights, and a bit of everything.
Wow. Okay. Is there a certain part of the industry or the more traditional Web2 industry that you see coming into the whole kind of tokenization space and moving more and more on chain?
Yeah, so we do this since 2017, so it's quite a long time. In 2018, you had this first wave where people wanted to do STOs, like basically raising funds on the blockchain, ICOs, STOs. So it was nice, but for me, it proves that the technology could work, blockchain infrastructure, but the market was not ready for that. Then we had all of these different crypto waves and trends. Finally, NFTs, because NFTs are so old, and it's like 1 or 2 years old now that everybody's talking about this. Um,
Yeah.
um, but now we see that everybody wants to tokenize everything, bring real world assets on the blockchain. So you have different ways to do that. So you have more and more DeFi protocols popping up saying they do this. The problem is that if you want to bring something, an asset off chain, but on chain, you need to guarantee that there is an asset. There is to guarantee that legally, if you have the tokens, you own part of the assets. And this is actually quite complicated. And you need to do it legally, meaning with a contract, not just saying, "Hey, yes, this is the asset. Trust me."
Yeah.
So we had to build the whole technology to do this and to make sure we can track the ownership, even if you transfer these tokens. So we have a full identity system on chain. So everybody has his own identity, can prove they are the owner. It's anonymous identity, pseudonymous. So On chain, nobody knows that you are this person, but they know that you are you. You can prove that you are the owner, and you can prove you are eligible for this token. So we can track ownership for any type of assets, especially for financial products. So everything around co-ownership of assets can now be done on chain.
No, that's great. Is there anything that you were really surprised to see move on chain? That anything from the traditional space and now is being brought on chain? Anything that stands out?
I don't think I will be surprised by anything because I'm ready to see the crazy creativity of people in Web3.
Okay.
Especially Web3, it's very international. I think it's one of the things I like is like, I mean, you see people from Nigeria and Pakistan and the Philippines and everywhere and Argentina doing great things. So I mean, it's amazing, especially in finance. Usually, finance is very closed. So it's changing step by step. It's great. So every day we see new project, new things. We will try a lot of things. We do a lot of R&D. Um, so, uh, so I think everything will be tokenized more or less seriously, but everything will be tokenized. We see internet, the Web 2 as the internet of information, or to share information, and blockchain the internet of value. So first you need to represent this value on chain if you really want to move it on chain.
Yeah.
So yeah, just the entry door, the tokenization.
Okay. Cool. And what's it really like building a startup in Web3? Because I guess everyone, people have maybe the glamorous image of being a founder, and you have maybe investment that's come from somewhere, and you're building this, amazing tech product, amazing company. But what's it really like on the ground when you're in the thick of it?
Um, we didn't benefit from it too much, but I think today it's very easy to get some seed money
Okay.
from blockchain networks, from big players, from anywhere. You have a lot of money on chain for seed for to start project, and anyway it doesn't cost too much. So this is a good thing. But except that, yeah, Web3 is great because it's changing every day. So you discover new things every day, and you can pivot your business, or drive your business step by step. You can adjust because you can see the trends, a lot of discussions, a lot of people talking. So you have a lot of noise and bullshit, but if you know what you're looking for, you can really learn fast and and pilot your business, because Web3 is very open, very transparent. So I think that's very interesting. um, Except that it's about any startup, any company. You need to try to focus on the right thing and get organized and deliver.
And and what's it been like? Because obviously you guys have been around for 6 years now. I think
Almost,
you
yes.
said almost 6 years. So you've seen this is your second, or building through your second bear market now. Then
Hmm. Yeah.
what's it been like building through a bear market compared to building through a bull? Have you noticed any difference?
So we are not active too much in crypto because we do blockchain, but not too much crypto. We represent real world asset, and the tokens we do
Okay.
are not cryptos. They are security tokens or that kind of things. So we are not directly impacted. However, we definitely see more traction and interest when we are in a bull market period. And actually, it was great when we launched. We launched our first product early 2018. We started the company end of 2017, and we launched a few months later. Um, and it was a great moment to launch. Our first contract, it was more than 100K dollars paid in Bitcoin, and
Okay.
we had and the product was not really ready. So when you have when everybody is suddenly rich, it's easy to sell things.
Yeah.
So at first, the first 6 months we were paid in bitcoins because everybody had bitcoins and it was valuable. Um, so that was very helpful. So for sure, you have more money, or people are less scared to invest or to spend in bull markets. It's good for startups. However, in the bull market phase, it's really harder to build things because you have too
Okay.
much activity, and I think it's much better to launch something like right now, and in a year when everybody will get super excited, you will be able to get clients.
Yeah, is that because you've then got time to build a solid product before everyone starts kind of piling more money into the space? So you're kind of set up and ready to go before that happens.
Yeah, you need to be ready before the peak of activity, um, and when you have all of this activity, you cannot deliver a good product because you're too busy and there's a lot of noise, and then you change your direction every day because everything is super exciting. So, but yeah, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you need to keep a cool head, and anyway, and but the timing is really important for startups, that's for sure. I mean, we knew it for Tokeny. It was our initial vision to bring serious assets and securities on chain. We knew it will take time, maybe not that long, but we knew it will take time, and now the timing is coming for us, and we are ready. We have an enterprise grade platform. We just got our SOC 2 certification. So we have 40 people, very well organized team. So now we are ready to scale. So that's perfect timing. But that's the difficulty with startups. You need to wait for the right timing in the market. You can check the examples of Uber, Airbnb. They all struggle at the beginning until people needed to make a bit more money in 2008 with the crisis. So they started to take a side job, Uber or Airbnb, selling the house, the extra room, renting the extra room. So and then it popped up. So you need to wait for the right timing and be ready. And usually the bull market is a good timing for crypto startups.
Yeah, and a fairly, well, hopefully almost predictable timing as well, I guess. If it goes in,
Yes,
if it follows the 4 year cycle again, and if obviously in the next 6 to 12 months
yeah.
things start moving again, it's relatively straightforward to predict ish.
Yeah, I totally
Um,
agree. I'm a strong believer of these cycles. So we'll see next year.
fingers crossed. And so obviously when you launch a startup, when you're building a product, there's obviously so much to do, not just for
Mhm.
you, but obviously for your team and every member of the team. How do you make sure that you don't get burnt out when you're working within a startup environment? Any advice on that at all?
Um, yes, what happened to me at the beginning is that I never, at the end of the day, you never feel that you finish because you have too much things to do. So you continue, and then you barely sleep, and then you continue, and it never ends. And at some point years ago, I got really tired. I could not anymore. So I started to stop at 7 p.m., something like this. You just stop, even if you feel you're in the middle of something, and you sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you think is your priority. All of the other stuff, you're like, why I was working on that? It doesn't matter now. What matters is this one. Um,
Yeah.
so it's really important to force yourself to stop, to rethink your priorities. I didn't do it too much, but I'm sure that going for a walk in the forest helps a lot as well. So I mean, it's really about getting the right balance. Y- your startup, your company will be your full life. I mean, a big part of your brain. But if you don't do anything else, at some point you don't see clearly what to do and what you want to do, and you cannot move forward efficiently, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's really good advice. I think a lot of people, it kind of consumes you, right? It becomes your whole
Mhm.
life and almost your identity as well, to some degree. When you're kind of so involved in it, you don't get to do anything else outside of it. But yeah, I definitely think creating at least a little bit of headspace for yourself is a really good thing. For me, because I'm over in Asia at the moment, and a lot of my customers are in the UK or in Europe. I have 3-4 hours in the morning. I might jump on a call first thing with the US, and then I have maybe a 3 or 4 hour gap before everyone in Europe wakes up. So I'm able to kind of take that gap in the middle, which
So
actually works really really well for me. But then work into the evening, which I'm a bit of a night owl, so that's that doesn't really bother me too much. Be interesting to see how that switches over when eventually in the next couple of years I kind of come back to the UK. It'll be interesting to see how that switches. But hopefully, I'll be more established then, and this kind of stuff. You have more of a team around you and that kind of thing. Um,
for sure.
but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, so what are the key things that you can share with people listening, people watching, and me? The key things to keep in mind when you're trying to build a really successful organization. Any tips?
Maybe I'm a control freak, but I would say organization, because if you don't get a bit organized from day one, then it's a mess.
Okay.
For example, if you don't create the right folders in your Google Drive, then you have 1,000 file, and it's a mess. Just simple things like this. You also need to about your finances. You need to define your business model, and to stick to it, to learn, and at some point, if it doesn't work, you pivot, but you pivot for real. Um, I saw many projects, trying a bit everything, but at the same time, so they don't know what works, they don't know what doesn't work. So they don't really know how they make money. They just make money per opportunity, but they don't build a model that is scalable and replicable. So I think having your Excel spreadsheet where you define your model and you try to put your clients in this model is very important. To templatize everything, like your contract with your clients, your purchase order, your some processes, basic processes. All of this you can do it easily at the beginning. It doesn't mean it will never change, but at least it gives some kind of framework for everything you do, and then you save a lot of time. If you're not really if you didn't work on your contract, for example, with your clients, you will discuss with clients and you don't know what you propose to them. When you already have your template, you have a clear idea, then you can iterate a bit and modify it a bit, but at least you have a clear idea. So it's really about organization at the beginning to make sure you know what you're doing. You are equipped to do your job, and once you have this, you can scale step by step. So it's always the same. You need a communication tool, you need a CRM, you need I mean it's not that complicated, and now in few clicks you get everything online for super cheap. So defining this and your basic tooling, I would say it's great to start. And of course, having a good value proposition. I like the business model canvas. I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's very simple.
I don't think so.
So everybody can search for this in Google, but it's called the business model canvas. And
Okay.
basically, it forces you to define to whom you're selling, what's your value proposition, who could be your partners, what are your costs, what is your key activity, that kind of things. So it's basically helping you to map what's your business. And then you can step by step grow all of this. But it's great to have a clear idea of what you want to do, where are your weaknesses and strengths, and
Yeah.
then step by step progress.
Great. That's really useful. I'm going to take a look at that after this. What was that called? The
Business model canvas.
business model canvas. And is that an app, or is it a downloadable document that you can work through?
Yeah, you can download this document. It's a big image basically with with different
Okay.
square, and you can write down your ideas.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. So you've obviously hired people to come into Tokeny. Have you got any advice for someone who's looking to build a career within the Web3 space?
Yeah, so in total, in my two main businesses, I hired maybe 200 people, something like this.
Okay.
Um, and I think you can see quickly if someone will bring value or not, because you have a lot of people who have no clue what you do as a company, and they don't ask any questions. I mean, someone want to work with you. You want him to be. Do you want this person to be dedicated for your company, like to be part of the journey, to be passionate about it, to join your mission? And so if they don't ask any question, it just means they don't care and they just want the salary. So maybe for some jobs it's okay, but for a startup like us, I mean, we need a small team, but a small team of ninjas. We want proactive people and not just executors. So So in interview, when when they don't ask anything, for me they just don't care. It's really about being passionate about what you want to do. So of course we work for salaries, most of us, but it's normal. But if you like what you do, it's way less painful and much more interesting. To do a career, for sure, you need to be interested in what you want to work in. For example, even you do marketing, okay, but if you do marketing in cosmetics or in Web3, it has nothing to do. It's not related at all. Okay, you have some skills in marketing, but choose the right area for you and go for it. So it's really about being interested in what you're doing. Otherwise, you cannot learn, you cannot grow.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, especially in the Web3 space as well. There's not that many real big companies in the space at the moment. So there's a lot of startups, obviously, that are building, and I think yeah, if you can find those people that are really really passionate about the Web3 space and passionate about what they do, that even if they don't necessarily know something, they love Web3 and they'll more than happy go away and learn it in their spare time, and they've got no they love doing it, right? So they don't mind going away and doing that. Um,
And it's really about trying as well. Sometimes we have people contacting us and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm really interested in the blockchain technology, blah blah blah." Okay, do you have a wallet? Not yet. Okay,
you're not interested.
yeah, you didn't even try, so how can you know?
And if you must have hired, a number of managers as well into your business, and it was probably a time when you hired your first employees and kind of stepped into that leadership role for the first time. Have you got any advice if someone's moving into leadership for the very first time?
Yeah, I think it's very personal because every manager has different ways to work. But what I'm saying is that as a manager, you're not supposed to find the solutions for everybody. Your team is not supposed to bring you the problems, and you're the one to find the solutions. Not at all. You're supposed to define the framework for your team. That's okay. That's the goal we want. That's kind of the resources we have to reach that goal in terms of human people, marketing, whatever. I mean, that's all. That's the framework, the goal we want, and that's your resources. And then you need to let them find solutions. And you need to make sure that when your team is coming to you, it's not about just complaining about their problem. It's about proposing solutions. And I think it's very important. Otherwise, it's the wrong side.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right there. I think it's yeah, I think it's quite easy to fall into the trap of trying to solve every challenge for the team.
Yeah,
Where in actual fact, if you can push back and push the problem back to them and ask them, well, how would you solve this? How would you solve that? Or come back to me with maybe three solutions, and I'll help you. I'll sit down with you, and we can work out which is the best course of action to take. For example, is always a good one. Yeah, being able to push back and get them to come to you with an answer or a solution, I think is a key skill to learn pretty quickly. It definitely took
yeah.
me a little while to learn that skill.
And
Got
it's
there
quite
eventually, but
of humility as well, because at the beginning you're like, I'm the boss. I need to know more than them, but not at all. Your role is not to know more than them; is to give them the right direction. That's
yeah.
it.
And if you're solving everything for them as well, it stops that whole learning process, right? If you can get someone to come to you with a solution, it's such a big learning process for someone to be able to do that and go away and work it out for themselves.
Yep.
So yeah, you kind of take that away from them, I guess. So were there, apart from that side of it, were there any really big challenges that you faced, or any big like steep learning curves when you first got into leadership?
Yeah, I think it was mostly the relationship with my co-founders, my team. Um, how do you communicate? Because it's very good to praise in public, to say, hey, you did great, but when you have something to say, like a critic to someone, you don't do it in front of anyone. You just talk to this person, otherwise they take it very wrong. So a lot of small principles like this that I've learned. to make sure that you communicate properly, that people don't panic. Because some people panic very quickly. It's like, oh, there's a huge issue, everything's falling apart, and they contact their three coworkers, and they come back to you as a manager, and you're like, well, what's the big problem? And actually, there's no big problem. The problem is that someone say to someone else, that says to someone else, that says to someone else, and so it created a big problem. But there's no problem. So to not panic for everything is really a skill you learn as an entrepreneur step by step. After a few years, you get used to be the king of the world and a shit in the whole day. You receive the wrong email and boom, and then you need to remotivate yourself. And sometimes you receive a great email and you're like, wow, amazing. So it's really like this. It's a roller coaster when you're an entrepreneur. But most of your employees are not like this. They are employees, so most of them are not in that mindset and not ready to get a heart attack 3 times a day. So you need to make sure they don't panic, they calm down, they get organized. That when there is an issue, we know what to do. We know who can help. We know how to escalate the issue and not spread panic. So yeah, it's really about communication and making sure that they understand that nothing is too bad and the company is not going to die because someone says something bad on the internet.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really good insight to share. And have you noticed that has your management style changed from your Web 2 company to your Web 3 company at all? Is there any difference?
Um, the main difference between my two companies is that the first one was really French, Europe oriented, and the second
Okay.
one is very international from day one because Web3 was really international. Um,
Yeah.
and also, e-commerce was already quite established. You had some big players, especially the payment providers. In Web3, it was the Wild West. Everything we could had to be built. So I think that are the two main differences. But otherwise, Web 2 versus Web 3, I think it's pretty much the same. Maybe you manage your users differently when you really do something Web 3 B2C. Yeah, I think users are much more volatile. They can leave very quickly. I mean, you have a lot of speculators in the crypto world. So yeah, they come, they take the rewards, and they leave. So I think you have to be a bit careful. We saw a lot of companies in the last 5 6 years growing extremely fast and going bankrupt extremely fast. So I think in the Web 3 you need to remain extremely humble. You can get great exposure globally very quickly and then nothing. So I think it's complex. Maybe a bit less in Web 2 now because it's a bit more established, and if you don't pay your Google AdWords anyway, nobody will see you. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we saw a lot of companies like this becoming extremely big, and then nobody. I remember in 2008, we were in an event in San Francisco. We had a small booth, and in front of us, you had the small booth of Celsius. And nobody came to them for the whole 2 days event. Nobody came to talk with them. And
Okay.
I think 1 or 2 years later, they became extra big, step by step, and we all know what happened to them last year. So that's Web 3, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's. I was having a very similar conversation yesterday about whether you go when you're marketing a Web 3 project, whether you go kind of all out, try and build up as much hype as possible, go as viral as possible to try and really scale really quickly, or whether you're better off to kind of grow incrementally and build a really good solid product, and really good solid tech, and kind of grow incrementally. And
Yeah.
I guess the hype kind of side of it can work if you've got a good product behind it, and if people kind of stick with with your brand. But I guess that doesn't necessarily give you time to build kind of really solid foundations, right? What's your view on that?
I totally agree. Actually, when we started, it was the ICO waves. So we
Okay.
could have done our own ICO. And our first product was an ICO platform, basically an onboarding platform for investors. So we could have done one for ourselves. and I'm pretty sure we'll have raised a few millions. After a few months when you launch your company, it's nice. Um,
Yeah.
but then we will have exploded because ICOs were very borderline, and then what do you do, and how do you make a serious business with that when it has such a bad reputation? So we resisted. We didn't do it. We said, okay,
I
it's
bet
gonna
that
be
was hard, right?
definitely, and so many years. I woke up like, we need to do it. No, we don't need to do it. And step by step, we accepted that our positioning was to be builders and to make an enterprise grade software. So it will be long. It will require capital. It will require a great team. It took us 4 or 5 years to reach the point that we aim to reach, to have a great platform that can scale, that is secure, etc., etc. But now we are there, and we are very happy that we build step by step because all of our competitors from that time disappeared or pivoted or everything. So now, if you look for an enterprise grade white label platform to tokenize financial products, who else than us? It's hard to find other people. So now we're getting more and more traction.
Great. I think that's really, really useful advice. Yeah, anyone listening looking to launch their product, slow and steady, or kind of build the proper base first, might be
I think
the
in
might be the answer.
Web3, it's true that you have maybe more chance than anywhere else to make a boom and suddenly to make a few millions. Maybe, I mean, it's probably 1% of the project, but it's possible. But that's it. We took the other approach where we have a higher probability to succeed, but it will take more time.
Yeah.
And I think we were right.
And is that a mindset that you brought over from the Web 2 space, kind of building companies with a solid foundation and then bringing that across to Web 3?
Yes, definitely, because when we started in the e-commerce industry, we knew it will not be magical. We knew it will be hard work. We
Yeah.
knew we had to build something different and strong. So yes, probably. And my first business, I worked there for almost 6 years as well. So I knew it would be long. I knew that the company, it's not 1 or 2 years. It's more 6 to 10 years to reach the point that you want to reach.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So you mentioned a couple of minutes ago that one of the differences is that everyone is spread all around the world, right? Teams are in all sorts of different countries and stuff. How do you ensure that you create a good working culture for the team, being so spread apart? Like that's obviously, I speak to projects and companies all the time, and the whole kind of cultural aspect I think is really tricky, and especially now with even some Web 2 companies, I suppose, with everyone going online and working from home because of the pandemic a few years ago, kind of forced companies to almost rethink what is our culture. But with Web 3 being, remote first majority of the time from the very start, have you got any advice on like how you build that kind of culture whilst you're all apart and remote?
Yeah, I think you can definitely build great remote teams, um, but you still need to make sure that the culture is similar. People join the culture of the enterprise, the company, and that this culture is developing. Because we are remote first, but we have like 30% of our team in Luxembourg, 30% around Barcelona, and most of the other ones around Europe. So actually, people see each other regularly because you can work online. And you're usually more productive remotely, to be frank. But for brainstorming sessions and to create trust between your team, they need to see each other. They need to spend time together. They need to go sometimes in an office together. For example, at Tokeny, twice a year, we take the whole team and we go somewhere.
Okay.
And for 2 3 days, okay, there is one day where we work and we make some sessions, but it's mostly about playing together, get to know each other, doing some extra activities. So after, when you work with your colleagues, you know them, and when you're not scared to ask for something, you're not. It's not like, this guy is annoying me. It's not, I remember when he helped me on the in the kayak.
Yeah. When he carried me back from the pub that one night.
Exactly. So I think it's very important. Regularly, twice a month or depending on where, but they can meet in offices, and twice a year we take the whole team all together. And I think it's very important. So we are organized as a remote company, but if you want, you can meet your colleagues. And online, we have a lot of tools to help us in terms of communications. So of course we use
Okay.
Slack and that kind of tools, um, but mostly, for example, we have a small bot on Slack every Monday. It randomly generates pairs of people for a coffee. So every
Okay.
week, you know that you need to take 10 minutes to discuss with that guy or that guy. Not about work, just about getting to know each other. That's a small thing, but it helps a lot. And we do a lot of apéro, having a drink with the team online sometimes, or some virtual coffees, or a lot of things like this to make sure that people discuss, are not feeling alone, and can share a bit more than just their tasks. So I think it's very important to accept that you're remote first, to get organized as well in the all the documentations, and all of these tools needs to be accessible. We have a great onboarding process. As a newcomer, you know exactly where to find the information. All of this is very important.
Yeah, I like that. The coffee, kind of the coffee morning split off sounds good. Because I think when you are working remotely, you don't get the opportunity, right, to speak to colleagues that maybe in other teams. That if you're in the office, you might bump into them when you're making a coffee in the kitchen, or whatever it might be, and you get an opportunity to actually have a conversation with other people. Where working remotely, you only maybe speak to the 4 or 5 people who are working within that particular part of the project or something, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can imagine that's quite yeah, quite fun, to be honest, to be able to have that conversation with people you wouldn't normally get a chance to talk to.
Yeah, definitely.
But also,
We also have like a channel on Slack where it's about random things. So it's not about work; it's just about fun, and it's very important. And once a month, we have this call with the whole team where we say what happened and where we're going. And it's very important. For example, you have some developers a bit more shy than others. So for them, it's great to see what we're doing in terms of sales and in terms of marketing, and the product vision as well, to take an overview. So all of this is really important, but you need to accept that you're a remote company.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think if you, it was easier to retain staff as well when everyone was in the office, because I think when you go remotely, if you haven't built that culture within the business, and build something that people really want to work within, it's very easy for them to just look online straight away and join another company that might be working remotely. Whereas when everyone was in the office, you build the relationships and you make friends with everyone in the company, right? And then you stay not just because of the job, but you stay because of the people there. And
Hmm.
I talk to people all the time and I say, well, you mentioned that you wanted to leave the role 6 months ago. What made you stay? And they go, oh, well, I'm working with 3 or 4 of my closest friends now. So that was kind of keeping me there, which I suppose is something quite hard to build if you haven't got the team meetups, as you said, the trips away, and if you haven't got those coffee things in, and the opportunity for people to just chat about stuff that's not about work. I can imagine it's quite hard to keep that retention within the business.
For sure, for sure. And actually, at Tokeny, I think we're doing that quite well because we have a low turnover. Um, if you check our team, I think in average, it's almost 3 years in average in
Okay,
the company. So
that's great.
quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, really good, really good. Um, So, Luke, after you've been running your own businesses now for 10, 12 years, I think you said, if you could go back to the start and give
Mhm.
your younger self a piece of advice, anything that particularly stands out?
I would say I would say to myself, just go for it. Don't be scared because at the beginning you have a lot of hesitation, and everybody's sharing his opinion to you. And I'm French, so entrepreneurship in France is not. It's better now, but 10 years ago it was like, what are you talking about? Why do you want to start a company?
Okay.
You have a diploma, just go to work in a big company, and that's it. So you even if you try to don't listen all of this, you of course it impacts you. So you hesitate and you don't go as big as you would like to go. I think when we started Tokeny, so this second business, the first one was pretty successful. So when I started Tokeny, I was like less scared to fail, uh, more inclined to take risk. Like let's make it big. So first
Yeah.
one, I was more hesitant, maybe, or a bit more. Okay, we will see what happened with it. Gonna do my best, and we'll see. Second one was like, we can do it. It's a better business than the first one. It's a better market, more opportunities, better team. So let's target the sky, and we will see what happens.
No, that's great. Yeah, so just go for it. I think there's probably quite a few people who are maybe sat on the fence, or people who want to launch their own thing, but maybe a little bit hesitant to do so. So no, I think that's really good advice. Just go for it and chuck everything at it and see what happens.
Yeah, it's normal to not have all answers from day one. It's you just need to start somewhere, having some kind of vision, intuition, and then step by step you will learn on the way. And if you are resilient and serious, you'll make it.
No, that's great. That's great. So why did you take an interest in Web3 then? So you left the last business and then you thought I'm going to join the Web3 space. What made you do that?
So I was a bit familiar with Bitcoin since 2012. When I was playing online and seeing all of these opportunities and all of these Ponzi's, the INET, what was that? High yield investment programs, that kind of stuff. So it was like very shady, but it was funny.
Okay.
And I discovered Bitcoin like that. I was like, okay, actually, this payment system looks great. So I booked a bit of Bitcoin and played a bit with it, but a bit passively. And in 2017, I sold my company, started to travel, started to invest, and it was the first big crypto boom. So everybody, I was learning a bit more, getting a bit more interested, making more money without working. So I was like, okay, there's something in this. Um,
Yeah.
and I quickly realized that most of these early projects were not done seriously, but very successful. So if we just bring some good technology and the right vision to bring real world assets, etc., on chain, it could already work. So we started there, and it was quite successful so far.
That's great. And what is it that is there something that you really, really like about the Web3 space?
I like the inclusion. Like
Okay.
everybody can participate, can do things. uh, I mean, literally today, if you start from nothing except your computer or even a smartphone, but yeah, computer, I would say, you speak a bit of English, you have a computer, you can make so much money in Web3. I mean, just chasing the airdrops, you will make a very good living. So yeah, it's an opportunity for new generations to change the game, I think. And we see it, a few years ago, in every meeting we are going, at the end it was always like, so it's like Bitcoin. I say we don't do it at all Bitcoin, but okay. So very philosophical, and there's big banker saying it's not never gonna work, and today it's totally different, because today you have new generations start to take some leads in these banks and large financial institutions, and yeah, if you just embrace this, if you're not scared about change and evolution, you can make great money. You can make great project, great careers thanks to Web3. In many other industries, it's super hard. I don't know if you work in metallurgy, to make a difference, or in aeronautics to make a difference. Good luck. In Web3, you can start projects very quickly and bring value.
For sure. And there's so many like open source things that you can do, or there's so many like bounties that you can get involved in with various different companies that even if you're not necessarily employed by those projects, you can help out and you can do stuff to learn about it and really get involved, which is cool. You don't really have that in any other industry really.
And I like the freedom it brings Web3 for everything. Even the notion of employment is totally changing. Now everybody is freelancing basically. uh,
Yeah.
and you can manage your own assets, so you're not dependent on anyone. I met a lot of investors and high net worth individuals, etc. And many of them, at some point in their life, lost a lot of money because they put their money in private banks or to some kind of asset
Okay.
managers that didn't manage it properly. Um, when you manage your assets with crypto, you can manage your assets. It doesn't mean you custody everything, but you can really take the decisions by yourself and assume those decisions. So you can build your wealth step by step, and I think that's great. You're not
Yeah, I
dependent on
think so.
intermediaries.
Yeah, and I think as long as you do the education behind it and learn about what you're doing, then you can. Because if you don't, obviously you can also lose a lot of money if you try and wing it.
That's
So you have to know about it. But is there anything that you would like to change about the Web3 space, if you could?
um, I'm not sure I will change all of the scams because they teach us a lot and it makes the whole
Okay.
industry progress. But I would love to reduce the bullshit you heard every day. Like a lot of people are commenting without any information or without checking or. I'm always very surprised. Nobody is checking what's in the smart contract, but everybody commenting the smart contract.
Yeah.
So, for example, with what we do, everybody is talking about tokenization, and the people who really double click on the GitHub to see the functions of the smart contracts, I mean, it's extremely low. And you don't need to code for that. A smart contracts, usually you have the function and you have a paragraph of description of what it does. Um, so it's actually very simple, but most people are scared when it's related to technology because they don't want to look stupid or that kind of thing. So they're scared and they don't have a look. You see a lot of comments and articles and even podcasts and everything with people who have no clue what they're talking about, and I think that's a bit scary. So sometimes you're like, what? But didn't look at what he's talking about. So yeah, so this noise is a bit annoying because you lose a bit of time. Um,
Yeah.
but scams, of course, scams are not great. But all of the hack, etc., we get every week in Web3, step by step, it helps the whole industry to become more secure, more resilient, more cautious, more organized. So step by step, it's helpful.
No, that's a good way of looking at it, to be honest. Um, because yeah, if you can, I suppose those things have to happen really, so you can find out where the insecurities in the systems and stuff are to be able to fix them. Right? If they didn't happen, you wouldn't know that they were there. Um, but yeah, I just hope that the scams and stuff that do happen when people do lose money, I hope it just doesn't discredit the technology behind the scams and stuff before it has a chance to become more like mainstream and more widely used. Right? I think that's
Yeah.
obviously one of the dangers behind it. But no, that's really interesting. And are there any other challenges that you've noticed that you think need to be overcome before blockchain does become more mainstream in more traditional businesses?
Yeah, I think everything around wallets and more globally identities.
Okay.
How can you manage your identity on the blockchain? Um, because today it's pretty complicated. Either you have your own self custody wallet and it can be risky, or you trust someone else, an exchange, and it can be risky, as we saw it. Um,
Yeah.
so this account abstraction ID and how you represent yourself on the blockchain, how you prove that you're legit or you respect some more criteria on chain, but not being blocked with one wallet. I think it's key. That's why actually at Tokeny we developed a decentralized identity system. It's called on-chain ID. So you have an on-chain ID, you can get certifications, trusted party saying, okay, I verified him is he's more than 18 years old, and he's not from North Korea, but still remaining anonymous on chain. So, and you can link one or several wallets to your identity. So you can really manage your on-chain presence without worrying too much about one wallet. And actually, you can even give allowance from one wallet to another, so you can recover your crypto if you lose on the one wallet or one of your wallets is compromised. So you can do a lot of things with this account
That's good.
abstraction. Um, but it's still a bit complex for people to understand what is an identity, what is an on-chain identity, how to manage it properly. So we don't push this solution too much for the moment. It's part of our solution to apply compliance, but it could be a standalone product. And I think it's
Yeah.
very key because what is starting to happen is that now your identity is your Coinbase identity or ENS or that kind of things. So hopefully we'll keep control of our identities on chain and not like in Web2 where your Gmail account is your identity.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? About I think people need to learn about what it actually means to have your own on-chain identity and what it means to be able to have control of your own data and how you
Yeah.
kind of go about doing that. Because at the moment, you just give it all away and let someone else worry about it. Really. So actually, when it's yours and you're kind of controlling it yourself, there's a massive education piece that goes around that with how you actually go about it, what it means, what things you need to share, what you don't. Like it, I think there's a whole kind of cultural shift that happens around that as well as we start to move more and more into Web3. But I know quite a few people have asked me if I've heard of any projects who have a central place that they can keep wallets and use kind of one system to be able to log into multiple different places. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to send them your product so they can check it out if you don't mind.
Yeah, with pleasure. On-chain ID it's called. Yeah, it's
On
open
chain
source.
ID.
By the way. The smart contracts are open source.
Okay, great. Well, Luke, if you could sum up your advice, then obviously you've shared some brilliant insights today and some great advice. If you could share I guess, summarize your advice to people who are looking to follow in your footsteps, what could you say?
I will say start. Start somewhere. Do something you like find an area, a market that is interesting for you. Start building something. You can learn the basic in everything in marketing, in tech. You have no code solutions. You can build something uh, by your own, and then step by step involve the right people in your project, in your vision, because you cannot build everything by yourself. You will need some help. So define your vision, start something, and involve the right people, and then become resilient. Don't listen too much the noise around. Just stick to your vision, and that should be fine after a few years.
That's great advice. Well, Luke, thank you very much for taking the time to have a conversation today. It's been great. Really enjoyed the chat. You've shared some brilliant advice there. I'm definitely going to be watching this back and implementing some of that advice into my own business. To be honest with you. So thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks a lot, Jack.
And I'll catch up with you soon.